So can I just welcome everybody? And I would like to introduce Brayo, who is a wonderful, wonderful musician who's going to start us off today. And then we're going to get on to the important, good stuff of hearing from Kakuma refugee camp. And we're all here supporting the people who are wanting to be evacuated now from Block 13, Kakuma refugee camp. So Brayo, over to you, and we'll try and sort out our technical things in the meantime. Brayo, welcome.
Thank you very much, Helen. It's great to be here with such a good cause to support our brothers and sisters from Block 13, Kakuma, and yeah, an evacuation really has to be done. But join me as we sing our anthem, our movement song. We start off with some nice music. We're going through a hard time. Our brothers at Kakuma, Block 13, let's keep fighting because we're never gonna stop. LGBTI, LGBTI, LGBTI. Freedom fighters fighting for the rights of the children of the rainbow flag. Tell me, what are we fighting for? We're fighting for our rights. What are we fighting for? Fighting for our rights. What are we fighting for? Fighting for our rights. Fighting for our rights to be LGBTI. We are here to stay. LGBTI. We are here to stay. LGBTI. We are here to stay, and we're never going anywhere. The children of the rainbow flag, we are proud to be. The children of the rainbow flag, we are proud to be. The children of the rainbow flag, we are proud to be. The children of the rainbow flag. flag. Yeah. Be proud to be who you are. No matter the hardships, we always win. So keep high. LGBTI. LGBTI. Wherever you are, sing along. LGBTI. 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 Thank you so much. And remember to take heart, to keep fighting. And it's great to be here to do this. And everyone watching, please pitch in, give what you can. Let's support our brothers and sisters. Let's see that they are evacuated, because enough is enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brayo. That is so wonderful. There's many claps and kisses being thrown your direction. We're so blessed to have, I'm so lucky to have you with us. So thank you. And we're really looking forward to hearing from you again at the end.
Hey, Helen, did you get my message? If you can tag me underneath your live, then I can find it and I can send it to all the people that are waiting on Facebook.
Okay, I'll have a go at that in a second. Can we go over to the camp just now? And I can see that Gilbert is sitting, waiting patiently. Gilbert, can you hear me? Gilbert, can you unmute yourself?
Sure.
How marvelous.
Hello.
Hello, we can't see you just yet.
Oh. Okay.
No, it looks like we should be able to see you.
Is that all right?
No, sadly, we've not got an image of you just yet.
Okay. Just give it a moment, it should be able to come.
We can see you, and it looks like your video's on. There we are.
It is.
Marvelous. We can see you now. Fantastic. Wonderful.
All right.
Gilbert,
Thank
are you
Helen.
okay to talk a little bit and tell us a little bit about the camp?
All right.
Thank you.
And thank you, Philia, for organizing this. And thank you, Victor, for co-hosting it. My name is Gilbert Kagaura, and I'm one of the 89 LGBTQ plus individuals living in Kakuma on Block 13. Today, Block 13 joins the rest of the world to highlight our plight and the life-threatening conditions that we live in here in Kakuma refugee camp. For those of you that are hearing of Kakuma or Block 13 for the first time, well, this Block 13 is found in the northwestern part of Kenya, in a place predominantly occupied by a group of Kenyans called Turukanas, and its name is Kakuma. Here is one of the biggest refugee camps, and this is where you find Block 13. Block 13 would have been an ordinary block, but we stand here and sit here to talk about it because of the reputation it has gained along with Kakuma and Kenya, by the way. Kakuma, Block 13, Kenya, they have made a reputation of being hostile to LGBTQ plus refugees and other persons. Here in Kakuma is where we find ourselves trapped. On one hand, we are viewed as outcasts, unwanted, repulsive, worthy of public lynching. On the other hand, Kakuma and those responsible for it are not kind enough to let us go, despite being considered as unwanted and as outcasts. Kakuma will use every opportunity to inflict pain, inflict misery, to remind LGBTQ plus persons that we do not belong. We have been in Kakuma as a group since 2019. And attacks have never stopped. But we have seen a particular increase in attacks since the 1st of May, the day that UNHCR brought us at gunpoint and dumped us on this very block where I am speaking from with the help of the Kenyan police. In these 5 months, from the 1st of May to today, the 1st of October, we have suffered unbelievable things. We have suffered these shockingly horrible things at the hands of fellow refugees. The locals, the Turkanas I talked about earlier, police, and others associated with UNHCR in offering services here in the camp. We have received death threats from police officers at a police station. We have received death threats from medical personnel while waiting for life-saving treatment from their hospitals. These and more continue to happen under the watch of UNHCR. UNHCR Kenya has seen what is happening to us, has seen this scenario play out several times before we even came here. They have seen LGBTQ plus refugees being attacked, being hacked, being assaulted sexually, going through unbelievably degrading things. And in some cases in the past, they have chosen to take some decisive action. Despite having seen this kind of scenario play out several times, they took the decision again to have us planted in an environment that they knew very well to be hostile to LGBTQ plus persons. And as if to prove a point that we can actually put you in that hostile environment and leave you there, they have decided to keep quiet. We don't know whether to save face or to prove that they can actually take the decision and bring us back to an environment that they know well to be very hostile to us. So they have went ahead and kept quiet and ignored this, the attacks, and more recently, the death of one of the LGBTQ+ persons here on Block 13. They have closed not only their eyes, but also their hearts. And they keep quiet as our conditions continue to deteriorate and our attackers gain more confidence and belief that they can attack us and get away with it. One would have thought that their silence is bad enough. They have gone ahead to publicly deny that there exists homophobia and transphobia in Kakuma. They have defended those responsible for the attacks and the suffering that we are facing in Kakuma. In the process of defending those that attack us, UNHCR has assumed its place with our attackers. That's why they can remain silent as we bury our people. We have already buried 2 LGBTQ+ persons in Kenya this year alone. And UNHCR has a role and a responsibility in these negligent deaths. Their silence does not exonerate them of their duty to protect and also of their duty to account for those placed under their care. Even the death of an infant, they tear gassed at their own offices, has not changed their stand. We call on the world. The bloodshed that we have experienced here, the horrendous injuries that we have sustained, the psychological trauma that we have suffered, the death, all these have not moved UNHCR. In fact, it's as if it has encouraged them to defend further those responsible. We cannot do it alone. We cannot get UNHCR to return to their calling, to protect. That's why we join you, comrades, friends, brothers, sisters, in solidarity. That's why we join you to express, to call out to the world that please, this has gone on for so long. This has gone on for too long. Please join your voices. Join us. Let's call on cooperation. Let's call on organizations. Let's call on institutions. Let's call on embassies. Let's call on our respective governments to use every leverage, every relationship they have with UNHCR to remind them and to urge them to return to their duty to protect. The time is now. We cannot afford to wait any longer. Please join us in condemning the death, the suffering, the persecution, and attacks, all that are happening on Block 13. We call on you, wherever you may be found, to come out and condemn the silence of UNHCR in the face of these gross violations of human rights. We call on you to come out and condemn these attacks that UNHCR has tried so much to cover up. Condemn the loss of life that could have been avoided. Please join us in reminding UNHCR that even LGBTQ plus refugees are worthy of being accorded basic human rights. Now is the time, especially for the LGBTQ plus family, friends, allies, and most importantly, LGBTQ plus organizations, to take your stand and help save what remains of the LGBTQ plus refugees on Block 13. Thank you very much. Helen?
Thank you so much, Gilbert.
We'll now listen to, I beg your pardon?
Can you hear us, Gilbert? That's it. You're back again. I know the internet's not always stable, but hopefully we'll get the image back. Marvelous. So you're back. There's Anne-Marie.
Hello.
Hello. Go ahead.
I would like one who has been able to join us. And we thank you for the fight. My name is Nalugo Josephine Anne-Marie, one of the 189 LGBTQ plus individuals found at Block 13, Kakuma refugee camp. Kakuma refugee camp is hazardous. The conditions themselves are terrible for LGBTQ plus persons. This desert is full of homophobic people.
The Bluetooth device
and
is
has
connected
a reputation
successfully.
in Africa. Cultures here in Kakuma are intolerant of the LGBTQ plus people. Women are a special target for the homophobes. We do face sexual harassments, sexual assaults, and we are not being helped by the authorities because we are LGBTQ plus people. For example, 3 lesbians and 1 minor were assaulted on the 19th of July in this year by the Sudanese homophobes. But when they went to the police on the 22nd of the same month to report their case, they just sent them away after these people got to know that they are coming from the LGBTQ plus community. And anyone imagine how it feels to report a case to the police and then a police officer just sexually harasses you by asking irrelevant questions, just like, are you a man or a woman? Because these are some of the things that we go through as women. These are some of the problems that we face when we go to report our problems to these police people. They ask you such questions and they ask you, what role do you play, mockingly? This is really degrading. It is really degrading that a person that you face this ship and they degrade you. These are the problems that we really do face. And as women, we have lost our pride and dignity completely. We have been stripped naked publicly in the community by the homophobes. We have been raped and called all sorts of disgusting names. And UNHCR and its partners have not helped us at all. The children here in our midst are exposed to a lot of violence constantly. Imagine some parents, they have been attacked just in front of their kids. They have been abused. So all these are some of the things that we are facing here, and all these are traumatizing to the children. Can you imagine a situation of sleeping without walls of protection? Do you really know how it feels when you know that anytime you're going to be attacked? And for us women, what comes first in your mind is that they are going to rape you. This is our daily life that we are going through.
The Bluetooth
Imagine
device
carrying
is ready to
all
pair.
this fear every single day of our lives. The kids that are among us, they are all traumatized because of the things they see every single day. Imagine they see the elders that they look up to being abused, brutalized, raped all the time. How will they turn out if they see all this? They don't experience anything like love, but only violence. This is the situation that they are going through all the time, because they see people cut all the time. They look at blood all the time. Now just imagine how traumatized they are right now. And these are the future generation we must protect. Their young minds are being exposed to a lot of hatred. We call upon the UNHCR to urgently come and protect them and the entire group at large, because honestly, Kakuma is real hell. I conclude by calling upon the whole world to stand and fight for our survival. UNHCR, we cannot afford to lose more lives, because we have already, the situations have worsened already. We have lost a life already, an innocent life of a baby. So we can't take this anymore. We can't take to lose more and more lives here in Kakuma. What we need right now, we just need an immediate evacuation from this horrible place. And that is possible by only the UNHCR, if it can give us, if it can provide for us movement passes and IDs to stop further loss of lives. Thank you very much. I remain Alugwa Josephine and Marie.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie.
Thank you too.
I think we're
Now we'll have Brian.
Hello everyone, by names of Kelea Chimini Brian, a transgender in Kakuma, Block 13. I have been in Kakuma since October 2019. Kakuma is very hostile for LGBTQ+, especially with transgenders. For the 12 months I have been in Kakuma, I have realized that transgender are hit the hardest during the attacks. We receive the discriminations at the hands of our neighbors, the police, and some of employees of UNHCR and its partner. I remember the occasion. When the policeman at Kakuma police station threatened to kill a transgender who was summoned at the police station to be killed by the police officer, police chief. It shows that transgender do not expect protection even from the police officer. Partners of UNHCR always tell us to dress like straight people in order to receive services from them. For example, I remember one day, it was on 10th June 2020, I was attacked at our block 13. I was with another transgender. At the time following the attack, we were rushed to an IRC run clinic called Clinic 7. We are losing a lot of blood. The medical personnel on the duty refused to attend on us because we are not wearing the masks, and because we're LGBTIs. When our colleagues complained out of fear of our lives, the hospital had them arrested. There is no any place in Kakuma where we feel safe, not even hospitals run by IRC. We have time and again been told that we transgenders should keep a low profile. This well-intentioned, but it hardly a solution from homo and transphobic attacks. Gay men who dress like straight men are often attacked. So it's not about the dressing, it is all about the place. Kakuma hates the entire LGBTQ plus family, and no amount low profile will change that. LGBTQ plus, we are denied our rights like freedom of movement, freedom of love, and rights to love. We can't love whom we want. We cannot walk anywhere or go anywhere we want. We need our rights back. We as transgenders, we are violated. Our rights are violated a long time. We also want to live our life with all such. The right thing currently to do is evacuation or getting us out of Kakuma camp in Kenya. We no longer need integration because we cannot integrate with people who play hard to see our heads off. Being burnt alive, etc. We have been asking for protection, which we failed to get. Now we just need to get evacuated to somewhere we can seek or be safe. We are tired of seeing our rights violated, being sexually harassed and abused, being stoned, losing children's lives, bloodshedding, and all kinds of sexual harassment. Please, with the transgenders, our faces, especially transgenders, are common. And if we try to change and dress like straight, for sure we are known and marked. And we cannot keep a low profile, as they say, because we are all well known by everyone. And I end up by saying that, please, and I beg, we need evacuation and we need to leave this place because it is too bad for us. So I remain clear, Dr.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. That's all we had. As you could see, be it a transgender, be it a child, be it a woman, be it a gay man, we are all not safe in Kakuma. We need evacuation as a matter of urgency. We need voices to the UNHCR as a matter of urgency. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Phumi. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert. Can we go to Victor? Have we got Victor? I can't see Victor at the moment. So what I'm going to do, I was hoping that Victor would speak and would also introduce Richard. And I'm wondering whether Richard might be ready and willing to talk just now. But if he's not.
Hi, Helen, I'm here, yes.
Ah, you are. Fantastic, fantastic. Richard, do you want to say a little bit about the situation in Kakuma and also a little bit about your role?
Yes, thank you so much, Helen. My name is Richard Lusimbo, and I'm the programs manager of Pan-African ILGA. Pan-African ILGA is the African umbrella organization for LGBTQ plus organizations on the African continent. And we, in other terms, we are the African chapter of ILGA World. But also I'm Ugandan and currently based in Kampala. So really, I've been following closely with the events, the unfortunate events that have been folding in Kakuma, specifically Block 13. And it's so disheartening to see how the situation has gone out of the way, and yet we are not seeing a lot of protection or action from the people who are supposed to protect our brothers and sisters who are seeking refuge in Kakuma. The situation that led them to leave Uganda or other parts of Africa was not because they wanted to just move, but it's because it was not safe for them. And it's disheartening to see that even when they left to seek for safety, they have been left into abuse. And just as colleagues have been describing, the situation in Kakuma is not good at all. And I think it should be a concern for us globally to see how we engage in these dire moments to ensure that we are able to, one, ensure their rights are protected, but also their fulfillment of being moved to secure places for safety reasons. And as you can see from colleagues have been saying that it's not even any safe for them anymore to even just be within the society, just even outside the camps, because they have been exposed to danger, they have been exposed to risk. We have seen our colleagues demonstrating outside of the UNHCR offices in Nairobi and also in Kakuma itself, but we're not seeing anything really changing. Also, what we have seen and registered is statements of denial of what the true reality is on the ground. And I think that's also very unfortunate that we, instead of solutions being sought, what we're seeing is denial from people who are supposed to protect our colleagues. So again, this is a moment for us to really take action and really call out. And I think it will be important for us across the globe to call governments and spaces where we feel that our brothers and sisters could be evacuated, for those governments to take action, and also really engaging UNHCR to ensure that it takes the protection of LGBTI refugees seriously, because they are in their hand and they sought refuge from them. And I think that's the reason why we're all here on this call, to really rally and make that call very loud and clear, because the situation is not friendly at all. And looking at us, all that is really happening, that the girl child is no longer safe in the camp. What are we doing about that? So again, these are issues that we should be speaking about, and we should not let them just go unnoticed and just put them under the rug and then say, okay, let's move on because LGBTI. I think LGBTI people are humans and they need to be protected. And I think it is a role for all of us to take that initiative to engage whoever should be, to ensure that the voice is heard, because at the moment as we speak, they speak from a vulnerable point of view. But all of us as a global community, if we speak, we shall be listened to. If we speak, change shall come. And I think that's what we should all do right now, to rally and speak and call and email all those leaders that we feel can really reach out to UNHCR to do something. Because what's happening at Block 13, it's something that I would have never wished for anybody, and I don't see why it should be happening to anybody. I thank you all.
Thank you so much, Richard. Really, really appreciate you coming here. That's so wonderful that you've taken the time to come today and to speak with us. Appreciate it. I wonder whether we could maybe go to Victor now.
Yes, Helen.
Thank you. Victor, I don't know where to start to say about all the wonderful work that you're doing. But I wonder whether maybe you'd like to follow on from some of the things that have been said, or you want to say some of the things that have been happening very recently at Block 13.
Yes, thank you so much, Helen, and thanks for organizing this. Thank you, Block 13, for making this possible too, and everybody who is on at the protest today. Again, my name is Victor Mukasa, and I am from Uganda, but currently based here in the United States. I came in here in this country, strange country, to seek protection from my homophobic government and people back home in Uganda. I was just so lucky not to go through the same route that my siblings in Kakuma took. In Uganda, the reason I was targeted was because definitely of my sexual orientation and gender identity, but also because of my human rights work and being a high profile activist at that point in the country, having been part of the foundation of the movement and led the biggest organization there. The eye was on me and I had to leave to flee the country. This has been work that I've done for over 2 decades, defending humans, mostly focusing on LGBTQ people. Now, the issue of refugees is very close to my heart. And also I feel that I'm in a better place than those that have gone through the refugee route in Kenya, through Kenya. In 2014, when we first had the first exodus of refugees, I was involved with LGBTQ refugees in Kenya, the first group that went there. In fact, what is happening in Kakuma right now is not new. it is just strange that UNHCR has not been able to rectify this and to deal with it from the radical, from the root. In 2014 and 2015, there were attacks in Kakuma. There were not as many LGBTQ refugees there as they are today at that point. The attackers were Sudanese homophobic refugees. The discrimination at the very clinics that are being mentioned was taking place. They were being attacked at shops like the ones there are being attacked now. The UNHCR was made aware. In fact, then I had a YouTube channel where I did exactly what I have done to highlight the plight of refugees there. Nothing much was done. And in fact, very disappointingly, Human Rights World did not take on that case. And, you know, eventually the culture of homophobia and transphobia was encouraged in Kakuma camp. So these attacks are not new. But also we've seen that in 2018, late 2018 and 2019, UNHCR was able to evacuate LGBTQ refugees from Kakuma camp, having understood, seen, and acknowledged that they are not safe there. They took them out. They flew them out, others by road. They were flown out in all ways. It was a crisis. It was urgent. Now, this year, June 19th, after that mass and very brutal attack, I was approached by my siblings at the camp. And again, I said, I'll use my voice and my space. It has been a long road. You all know that have been working together with us, and thanks to everybody who has gotten on board. I'm very thankful to the human rights organizations that have come on board. Richard, I just heard you. ILGA, it is very important for an organization like ILGA Africa, Pan-Africa ILGA, being on board here in support of LGBT refugees in Kakuma camp. It is very important for the other human rights defenders that we are hearing from. It's very significant at this point in this campaign that we have human rights defenders from the African continent, LGBTQ, international human rights defenders from the African continent coming to the rescue and to amplify the voice of LGBTQ refugees at Kakuma camp. And, you know, LGBT refugees worldwide are going through the same. I think that this does not stop here. We continue with this to reach out to all refugees, LGBT refugees across the world. But the call is for more human rights organizations to get on board. When I first listened to the stories of Block 13, I believed them immediately. I heard all the propaganda. I had heard all the lies about them. But the fact that I was speaking to them directly, I believed them. And that is the reason why, at some point, it has been a very lonely journey to where we are right now. And I encourage all of us, I encourage human rights organizations to reach out to Block 13 and get that story. The story that the UNHCR has provided misinformation for. The story that UNHCR has downplayed, and not so that it's not seen as a crisis. It is a crisis. On the 16th of September, we lost a child who was tear gassed. With the permission of the UNHCR, just before the UNHCR, a child was 3 days old. She was tear gassed, and she has been ailing with those effects of that tear gas, that poison, since then until the time that she died. She had a problem with the skin. She had breathing problems. She was sick from the time that she was 3 days old when she was tear gassed. That was the UNHCR. The UNHCR did not take care of her. They did not treat her. They did not even look out to just say, hey, we know that among the people we tear gassed, among the human beings that we tear gassed yesterday or last week, there were some infants, because she's not the only one. There were some infants. Can we at least look at the children if we don't care about the others? So it has been that negligence, that silence of the UNHCR, its partners around Kakuma, its the police, the Kenyan police in Kakuma, that has led to what is happening, that continues to happen to LGBTQ refugees right now. UNHCR, and in particular, Dr. Filippo Grandi, this is to you. The question from me is, when do you get to act? When do you get to stand up as the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, as the commissioner that represents the issues of refugees at the United Nations? When do you stand up? When do you get to step down and say enough is enough? We have sent every documentation that there is in the world to UNHCR in Kakuma, in Nairobi, and in Geneva. We have sent every information that you can have. You have all the contacts of the refugees at the camp. What is that that will stop you, Dr. Grandi, from saving these people? Before you leave office this year, Dr. Grandi, we request you to set these people free, to save them from the attacks, to save them from murder, to save them from death, more death at that camp. To resettling countries, it is difficult. The issue of COVID-19 has been used a lot, even by the UNHCR when it comes to the plight of refugees in Kakuma camp. But the UNHCR has managed to bring more refugees about a month and a half ago to the same camp during COVID-19. We know that right now for the refugees at Block 13, the attacks they are facing, the fact that after this Zoom meeting, they could be attacked, I think that presents a crisis, an emergency, something that can be dealt with as soon, like with immediate, like yesterday. So we ask you kindly, UNHCR, to offer them, to give them movement passes that will allow them to move safely to wherever safe place that you will take them. You need to take them out of there to save humanity. They are human beings and they matter. The children there are human beings and they matter. All the women and men on Block 13 in Kakuma camp are human beings and they matter. And the last request to you, UNHCR, please do not let this happen again. Until a culture of acceptance and respect for everybody is initiated, developed, and maintained in Kakuma camp, you should never take LGBTQ refugees to that camp. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Victor. Victor, I wonder whether you'd mind introducing our next person who's going to speak. That's Phumi, because I think that you might be able to do a better job of introducing than I would.
Thank you very much, Helen. Phumi, my family comrade, I welcome you to this Zoom protest. Phumi is a human rights defender, one of those that have defended the rights of LGBTQ Africans for years. Phumi comes before me in this work, and you know that I have been here for more than 2 decades. Phumi is also one of those comrades that fought alongside the ANC in South Africa to liberate South Africa from apartheid. Phumi is one of my inspirations. She's a mentor for me and a strength to me. When Phumi stands for a cause, I believe in that cause. And Phumi, I thank you so much for showing up today, and I will leave the rest to you in protest against what the UNHCR has done to Block 13.
I have been so lucky to be in the trenches with Comrade Victor and many others on the call. And truly, Comrade, to thank you for shining a spotlight on what's been happening in Block 13 for months now. Thank you so much for creating this space to bring a truly painful reality that is happening in our African continent. But like you say, rightfully so, it happens across many other places in the world where, in my view, it's truly an ongoing a quest to erase our very existence, to ignore the plights of LGBTI people in countries and outside, and to ignore the cries and the pleas that come from what searching for refuge actually entails. What Gilbert and Marie, Brian, and the many others, Victor, that you've been speaking to from Block 13 over the past few months, as well as really unnecessary deaths that have occurred, are reminding us over and over again of why we need to continue to struggle. Listening to Gilbert and Marie and Brian was very painful. And it's so painful that the Refugee Convention requires that when one seeks refugee, there are minimum standards to be followed. All of them around safety, well-being. Because what I may be running from in search of refuge implies that I am running towards something that can actually help me transition from a violence, from a pain, from a suffering, towards something that is better for me to survive and to help me to thrive. And this is the fundamental thing that an institution such as the UNHCR has been ignoring in the many solidarity things we have signed, in the many pleas we have heard, and in the amazing work that you have shown the spotlight to, Comrade Victor. So what does it mean for us? I'm so glad to see that many people inside the continent have joined this very, very important gathering. Thank you, Helen, and everyone who's involved. What it means is that we also have to think about the African Union, the African Commission. Guess what that commission for? Is for peoples. It is for peoples, for human rights. And if we do not affirm that the identities of LGBTIQ people are those identities of a people, then, comrades, we need to think about the institutions that actually exist and are there to serve. And I honestly am so glad to see how ILGA has come fully on board. And I will say ILGA Global, because this is not a Pan-African ILGA problem. This is not an African problem. This is a world problem. And I am hoping that through this and through the many other platforms that we will create, that we will continue to say, our work for the defense of not only the comrades in Block 13, but the very nature of even one person, you know, who is seeking refuge, seeking safety, and seeking the dignity and freedom that are so inherent in who we are as LGBTIQ people is fundamental for everyone who stands for the cause of equality, freedom, and dignity. So I am here to really appreciate the work that you are inviting us to continue to strengthen, Comrade Victor, Helen, and everybody else. But I am also here to tell Gilbert and Marie and Brian and everyone in Block 13 that, comrades, your lives matter. The fact that you are seeking refuge is just as important to you as it should be to all of us. We will not rest until we know that you have the safety that you need. It is extremely painful to hear the stories narrated of the conditions in which you are living in. It is extremely painful to have been watching those videos of the beatings that were going on. It's extremely painful to watch my comrade Sharon running a funeral from where she was. You know, it was extremely so to oversee that. And I'm hoping that Victor, we don't have to ask the UNHCR to do us a favor. It is not a favor, it is an obligation that they have to comply by. We are not asking, we have to make these demands and we have to run them across the UN system if we have chosen that as a strategy. And I hope and plead that we will put also our efforts in the African Union, in the African Commission for People and Human Rights, and in every other instance that has been created, that has signed up to ensuring and recognizing that refugees do not happen by accident. Refugees are running from a miserable, painful, and violent life in search of something that is better. So I'm hoping, comrades, that you will convene us and guide us, led by the Block 13 comrades, and with all our support fully behind them. I thank you so much for this time to be able to speak to you all. Thank you. Onwards, comrades.
Thank you so much, Phumi. Inspiring and wonderful. Thank you. So now I'm hoping, Victor, that we can go to Sally, if that's okay. And if Sally's ready.
Yeah, no problem. Excuse me, I've got a cat on my lap, so I'm having trouble getting to the keyboard. So thanks very much for asking us to speak. I'm speaking on behalf of Philia, which is a women's rights charity based in the UK, but with contacts globally. Our three main aims at Philia is sisterhood and solidarity across the world, amplifying the voices of women and defending women's human rights. So it's obvious that this campaign with Kakuma camp is something that we would want to be involved in because it meets all of those three central aims. We were privileged to be able to speak to 9 of the women and create a podcast for our website. And it's true to say that the stories and the evidence that those women provided to us truly touched both our members and our followers. And we knew instantly that this was something we wanted to be involved with and we wanted to support and continue to support until everyone is evacuated and everyone is safe. I'd like to say huge thanks to Anne-Marie and the women that gave evidence recently in the videos that have been shared. They were really, really powerful pieces of evidence, and I'm glad that they're out there and they're being seen and they're being heard. We also will share them via our website, and we're also taking them to the UNHCR UK offices because you may be aware that they provided us with a letter telling us how everything was okay in Kakuma and we needn't worry, and the 20 refugees that were there were absolutely fine. Basically a letter that was just full, as Victor said earlier, of misinformation and untruths. So we will be very pleased to provide that evidence to them in person and get them to answer to it. Likewise, we've made some contacts with our Foreign Office here in the UK. We're aware that the UK does provide some funding towards Kakuma, and although of course we absolutely want to make sure that continues, what we're hoping is the Foreign Office will use that money to provide some pressure to ensure that the UNHCR take these matters seriously and move forward very swiftly with the evacuation. One of the things that for us as a women's rights charity that's been really clear is some of the additional burdens that the women face because they're women, as well as everything else that's going on in the camp and the lack of food and the lack of decent shelter. But as Anne-Marie said earlier, just every day, you know, if someone's walking towards you thinking, am I going to be raped? And so many of the sisters at the camp having experienced sexual violence and rape. And one of the things that we've been looking at is the UNHCR's own protocol around sexual violence and gender-based violence, which very clearly they are flouting, you know, almost every single aspect of that code that they expect to deliver to. So again, when we do meet with them, that's something that we will be bringing up and asking questions on. Part and parcel of that code is some very clear monitoring that they have to do. And from what we can understand, that's just not happening. That's just not clear at all. So we will be on this. We will do our best actively to support and to raise voices wherever we can. But also, I think really importantly, we want you to know in the camp that you have the love and support and the sisterhood of all of us at Philia, and we're here standing with you in solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sally. That's really wonderful work. Really appreciate it. I'm hoping that Sharon can bear with us and that we can maybe hear from Kinney next. Kinney, are you okay to talk after just now? I think you just need to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you everyone it's been really good to hear from all of you and the strength of the solidarity and all the voices from Kakuma speaking up and all the campaigners. I'm speaking on behalf of the counselling team, and one of the, I think one of the most important things we recognise is that counselling, although it's really important, it just lifts the spirit. The most important part of all of this work is the advocacy and the campaigning work, because the priority is to get all the residents out of the camp. Their conditions need to change. The narrative of all of the people that we've been talking to is exactly the same. They are representing the whole of Kakuma, which is what Phumi talked about, people escaping. As refugees, they are escaping from brutality, they're escaping from persecution, they're looking for safety. And when they arrive in Kakuma, they are arriving in a place which literally means nowhere. They're arriving in a place where they are imprisoned. It's like a detention facility out in the desert where they can't move out of. And where they are facing the same persecution that they've been running from. And I wanted to start by sort of saying a bit, giving you the words of one of our clients. You've played a very vital, important life rescuing me. You have touched the healing, you've touched and helped in the healing of my septic wounds that UNHCR, the International Refugee Humanitarian Agency, failed to do, yet I am in their custody. You came to my life and you, at a time when my life was exposed to a lot of conditions that gave me several stupid thoughts of suicide. And he felt I was so stigmatized, I was so lonely, I was so distanced. I reached a moment of getting high blood pressure, but you lifted all the burden from me. Until now, I don't know how big that basket is, that you are throwing all of those burdens. I thank you a lot that you have given me a shoulder to cry on in the struggle and give me a sense of belief that I can stand up for my own rights and for my own freedom in this terrible situation. And I am going to stand up for my rights to ask the UNHCR to evacuate me from this homophobic camp before I lose my life in the hands of the homophobes. person after person says the same thing. The threat, the fear, the horror of losing their lives at the hands of homophobes. Woman after woman talks about the fear and the horror of sexual violence. It is fantastic that the campaign group have brought together this counselling group. We are an international group of counsellors, psychotherapists and clinical psychologists with combined experience of trauma-informed therapy spanning over 100 years. This is an incredible resource with therapists who have experienced working with LGBTQI communities, refugees and asylum seekers, survivors of domestic and sexual violence, enabling people to recover from mental health impact of trauma. The therapists have begun delivering a service that is beginning to address the mental health impact of trauma, violence, discrimination and persecution, but it can only address what is on the surface because the situation continues and the situation is chronic for them. As counsellors, we provide support to each other, which enables us to provide a good standard of counselling practice. And we learn about the needs and experiences of the community in Block 13. We have been honoured by the trust and faith and bravery of our clients who have trusted us and opened up to us in their deepest emotional wounds that are not only historical but ongoing. While speaking to us, our clients and members of the whole Block 13 community are confronting the most difficult, inhumane and pernicious challenges of day-to-day living on the camp. These also, amongst those already mentioned about the sexual, the physical violence, also including the appalling living conditions with inadequate shelter, poor access to clean water, poor access to clean hygienic sanitation facilities, with continuing persecution on the camps and on visits to the local town. Additionally, the continuing cycle of the deliberately inflicted wounds from inhumane attacks. And facing all of this whilst also picking up diseases due to poor environments such as typhoid and malaria. The loss of baby Patricia has been a tragic loss to the whole community. And it's a loss that cuts deeper than anything. This is a very challenging context to work in. Providing a counselling service in this context is only viable with a strong, effective international campaigning body that works hard to promote asylum and relocation in safe countries. And it is safe countries that the community needs to be relocated to. You know, not just Nairobi, not just, even in countries, African countries where it is legal to express your sexuality, people face danger from the prejudice and the homophobia. Along with this, legal advocacy and criminal justice is necessary to move forward. Since we are counsellors, independent of the campaigning and advocacy body, we can play an important role in providing witness statements to support legal processes, whether for safe relocation or inhumane crimes committed against the individuals that we are working with. We would like to see the allocation of legal advocates to each individual to support them in processing their applications for evacuation from Kakuma, and the non-acceptance into Kakuma of further LGBTQI people based on the recognition of the life-threatening acts against them as a result of their status and identity. Counselling offers people to contain the worst feelings of desperation within this ongoing chronic and critical situation. Our aims in this context are to work with the individual and support the individual in building their inner strengths, in managing within an ongoing crisis situation. Counselling also helps in the immediate term to alleviate some of the mental health impact of ongoing traumatic experiences, as well as historical traumatic experiences. We have learned from our brave and courageous clients that counselling has offered them a space where they can be seen and accepted as who they are. They feel validated as human beings, having a right to their own identity. This is something that is very new to them, because from the word go, their identities have had to be hidden. They have gone through the narrative of hiding their sexual identities from a very early age. And with time, this has been followed by exposure, persecution, torture, maiming, and important people in their lives being killed. Many of the clients are dealing with multiple and lifelong losses and traumas. Much of the healing for that can only come once they are relocated. Through their engagement with campaigning, counselling, and day-to-day life on Block 13, they have shown tremendous spirit and resilience. We are honoured and privileged to work in Kakuma, Block 13. Our own lives have been touched by every single person we have worked with, who in their story represent the whole of Block 13. And they have told us their testimonies, and we have been witness to their testimony. And it has been a painful process to witness their personal, individual testimonies. What we would like as counsellors, as we learn from the experiences of our clients, we want UNHCR to take strong and direct action to process applications of Block 13 immediately for members' safe relocation to receiving countries, to address the problem of their own staff discriminating against the LGBTQI community, to address the issues of discrimination and violence and violation of human rights of the LGBTQI community when they seek to access medical care or legal redress for crimes committed against them. At the very basic level, we need to ensure that safe and adequate accommodation is provided, which is also secure for them. We are thankful that we've been invited to actually work on the camp and with the people who have really touched our lives, and we have grown to care and for deeply. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kinney. Appreciate that. I think we're going to hear just from Victor just to introduce Sharon.
Yes, thanks again, Helen. And our next speaker is Sharon Cox, again from South Africa, in the city of Cape Town. Sharon Cox is another long-term activist and human rights defender in both South Africa, but also not only South Africa, but also Africa as a continent. And it is no surprise that is involved in this rescue campaign for Block 13. She hails from the Triangle Project, one of the oldest organizations on the African bloc, as well as the Faith Network. Sharon, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you for everybody that is here. Over the last many months, and hopefully for most of you here, cannot help but stop and think, if we as a society have become so immune and desensitized to injustice that unless it directly impacts on our lives, we take no notice of it. And it heartens me to see people posting from all over the world. We on this continent and across the globe come and know the history of oppression. We know the oppressed and we know the oppressor, of domination of one group over another group. And these have been based on the past, on race, on ethnicity, on religion, and in the case of Block 13, on sexual orientation and gender identity. We have heard quotes like never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. And yet we continue to see this in Block 13. I can tell you that for all discrimination, it assists the minds of the oppressor when they can look the oppressed squarely in the face, engage, and see the person as human as you are. For this to happen, it means that there needs to be engagement on the ground. It means UNHCR, you have to witness what is happening. It speaks to nothing about us without us. I urge you, I urge human rights defenders everywhere, clergy, religious leaders, social justice activists, that the structural entities in place to engage with those impacted. The people on Block 13 are accessible. The people on Block 13 are willing and able to speak to their lived realities. I urge you to look, to listen, and to hear what is happening. Never again should a blind eye be turned. Never should we not use the freedoms that all of us have who are in places where we are free to express ourselves. Use that opportunity to speak out. Never should we stand by as we bury another infant who hasn't even had a chance at life yet. Never should we know that people are losing the will to live or fear closing their eyes at night for what will happen to them. It is all of our responsibility to stand up, to speak up, and to speak out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Really appreciate your kind, wonderful words. I wonder whether we can call on Nancy just now. Can we see Nancy? Yes, wonderful. Nancy, do you want to introduce yourself and just say a little bit about what you've been doing?
Sure. I'm Nancy Cassie. I'm in Brockville, Ontario, Canada. I've always been a little bit of a social justice warrior. I'm now a student of social services, so now I'm finding a lot of resources falling in my lap. But the thing that really got me involved was I am the chair of Brockville Freedom Connection. We're a local refugee sponsorship group. And last October, we welcomed a survivor of Kakuma to Brockville. And that person could not be here today, but I'm hoping that we'll send the recording and they'll be able to watch it. I first made contact with him back in around August of last year, and he was one of the lucky ones. I use the word lucky really loosely because I don't think any of them are actually lucky, but he was one of the ones that were evacuated in 2018. So when I made contact with him, he was already living in Nairobi. But through the conversations, getting to know him prior to coming over here, and then when he came here, he lived with me for the first 4 months that he was in Canada. So I really got to know a lot about what was going on over the torture and the emotional stuff kind of firsthand. And I knew at that point that I wanted to get involved, but for a while it was like, you know, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I do this? And then unfortunately, maybe not everybody in here knows, but I know some of us know, back in the spring Easter weekend, there was a young fellow that he hung himself in Nairobi because of the conditions and stuff and the depression. And that happened to be a really close friend of my friend. So that was a turning point for me. And I was like, I can't with the resources and the privilege that I have and the place where I'm coming from, I can't sit still and watch this happen anymore. I need to get involved somehow. And one thing led to another, and I was turned down a path, and I met with Victor, and I met with some folks in the States, and so that's how I got on board here. And every time that we get together, I sit in awe of the presence that I'm in. Like, what an amazing bunch of people that you all are, and what heroes to me. The people on Block 13 and all the people in Kenya really, but particularly the folks on Block 13, the things that they've gone through, the strength that they've shown. I've just learned so much from them. So my job here in Canada, what I'm trying to do is really spread awareness, get other people involved, put that pressure on the UNHCR, and just really appeal for change. Evacuation. I know somebody is talking in the chat, where do we go from here? We can't just keep evacuating them, and that's true, but we have to start somewhere, right? And part of that is saving these lives, saving these people, and and learning from that, and then we can move forward to try and help other people. So here, spreading awareness. We've had some protests. At this time, I'm trying to look at creating a circuit within the school systems, the colleges, the universities, getting some of those people on board, because within those strings of people, we're looking at social service students and psychology students and journalism students and human rights activists and LGBTQ groups and gay straight alliances. All those things are within. And I was really surprised because I kind of woke up last week and went, I'm a student. Like, why am I not profiting on this, right? So that's kind of where I'm standing right now. But I also welcome anybody who's here in Canada and wants to get involved. Please get in touch with me, because we can use all the voices that we can muster here. We will put them to work, whether it's letter writing campaigns or protests. I would like to see us start having more utilization of the Zoom stuff. Still learning, but it is a way to make the world a lot smaller, as you can see here today. So I think that's kind of it here. Yeah, join us, raise your voices.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you to everybody too.
Thank you, really appreciate it. I'm hoping that we can now go to Babs. Babs, are you okay to talk?
Yes, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Let me get in position. Evacuate Block 13. This has become our daily mantra, the feeling of our heart every single moment. When I came on board August 16th, I just offered to say, let me help. Once I found out what was exactly happening, it's almost like you're in an alternate world. Like, how is this possible? This is going on. And then when I made the commitment, there was no turning back. We all feel that. We're all part of this. Daily, we make inroads, something, anything that we can do. But the atrocities that are happening at Block 13 are beyond disbelief. I love these people, as we all do. We have become family. And you don't turn your back on family, no matter what. And every day we trudge forward with having somebody who's supposed to be the guardian of refugees, to be the protector, to be the one who actually is supposed to give them safety and to protect them from everything. The things that Block 13 go through. How many people are there? 189. Number of children now 25. 49 attacks of homophobia, transphobia, and because of lesphobia, of all of those three. Houses burned, 8. 15 occasions of injuries, broken limbs, 30 in one day. Turned down by police because of homophobia, 63 times. Abused by police, sexually assaulted by police, rapes by police, turned away from medical, death threats, complaints to Kakuma, UNHCR. I mean, the list goes on and on. The point being is, I wrote an email to Mr. Grandi. And I said, you know, I really appreciate it as a humanitarian, but seriously, how is it that you can say these things and do nothing? There's no way that all of the emails, the protests, the reports, the phone calls, the numerous people across the globe doing what they can, that there's being a blind eye turned. Because if you're turning a blind eye, there's bloodshed on your hand, in your hands. So I appreciate everyone who's here, everyone who's part of this, what we're doing to do what we can, but there has to be more, because clearly it isn't being heard or resorted to. So I would like to invite anyone on this call who would like to be part of some new protests coming up in the next couple of weeks globally. You tell me you want to be part of it, I'll organize it. We have an amazing person who does all the graphics. It's just Chauncey Dandridge. Thank you for all of your help and technical abilities. And he's actually going to speak in just a minute. If you could just let him come on, Helen. I call them my angels. I love them. And just like, you know, Nancy and I were like, oh my gosh, we woke up, what happened? They got attacked by the Turkanas. Oh my gosh, what happened? Like, we are so emotionally invested. There's no way that we will ever turn away. So we need more people. It's nice to come on, and I appreciate it. But praying hands does not cut the mustard. It doesn't. There has to be more involvement. We have to go until we can't, right? I'm not stopping, right? Because it's a matter of, it has to happen. When I did send that email to Grandi, and it was approved, so I'm going to read it because honestly, I said, sorry. I said, I listened to your speeches on World Refugee Day, ADHOT Day, and even a speech you gave when Kakuma was evacuated last year, and I heard your heart, how important it is to you to provide stability, safety, and protection to those who are marginalized and discriminated against. So after researching your career and listening to the passion and conviction you possess trying to help others, I came up with only one possible explanation as to why you've done nothing. Actually, there are two. You're given misinformation, or B, you're not actually given the information. These are the only two logical reasons you would not have acted to bring them to safety by now, because if you had, you'd have the 141-page document chronicling their ever homophobic attack, houses burned, possessions stolen, rapes committed by local tribes and also police, supposedly there for their safety. You would have also learned of a woman who at 3 days postpartum held her infant in her arms as she attempted to shelter her to avoid tear gas that the Kakuma UNHCR instructed the police to deploy. Because she couldn't run after giving birth, her baby was exposed to tear gas and she died. Were you also aware of the disingenuous statement from the UNHCR Kakuma, and I quote, "We are saddened by the death of a 5-month-old baby in Kakuma camp today, and we express our deepest condolences to the family. While the causes of this tragic loss are being reviewed by doctors, including our own, will provide whatever support is needed for the child's mother." Did you know they'd never even contacted her? We have those that love and advocate for Block 13. She lost her baby due to tear gas exposure complications, and Kakuma UNHCR was the one that allowed it. How can that happen? Let me paint a picture of Block 13. There are less than 200 there, 26, now 25 children. They're surrounded by 170,000 homophobic refugees. Mr. Grandi, I saw you work in Africa. I know you know the culture and their stance on the LGBTI population. They're completely unprotected. They even have a watch program where people have to stay up to alert if attacked. They're setting ducks. They had been attacked by Turkanas a couple weeks ago, and they were promised that they'd come back. Well, 75% of them have contracted typhoid and malaria as they sleep outside in the rain and can't go to clinics due to homophobia as well. There is so much that they are enduring, and they need immediate evacuation. And their movement pass is issued so they can get out of the hell they're in. Mr. Grandy, I understand your 5-year term ends at the end of the year, but if we don't get them to safety now, you're going to have to deal with a whole different set of circumstances as their life hangs in the balance moment to moment. Quoting your words from your speech to the Global Security Council in June of this year on the forced displacement, please, quote unquote, get all the influence you can muster to free Block 13. I'd like to bring Chauncey on at this point, please. Can Chauncey come on?
Of course, Chauncey, do you want to unmute yourself?
I unmuted myself. Okay, thank you, Babs, for that intro. Babs has been someone who really has ignited a fire in me in this entire project, and this she came to me, she told me what was going on, and I jumped on it immediately. You know, whatever time I can give to it, I am fully on board. What we have done recently, we did a protest last in September 1st. We did about 5 different cities, and some, you know, wasn't the most heavily attended, but it got some traction, it got some attention. And what we did is we created a Facebook group called Free Block 13 Kakuma, if you could all become members of that group, and also an Instagram page at Free Block 13. What we'll be doing is we'll be sharing stories, we'll be sharing testimonials from different members of the camp on those pages, along with different actions that you can do and you can pass on to your friends. Because obviously during COVID, showing up in person isn't something that's common right now. So online activity, tweeting the UNHCR, retweeting, and all that kind of stuff, trying to get our hashtags trending would be beneficial because it'll pick up some steam. We sent out about 500 to 600 emails to various LGBT media and didn't get much in return, but you know, we're just going to keep doing it again and again. We're going to try to do something along this line of a global protest at least once a month. We're going to try to stick to the first of the month. So this way it's kind of like, oh, the first of the month is coming. That means, you know, there's a protest. Like I said, if you go to that Facebook group and become a member, and you can interact with us there. And I just want to, I want to read something that I read at our first protest about what the mandate is that I was given to read for the first time that we did the protest. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, according to Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And according to Article 3 of the same declaration, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and the security of person. Everyone, including LGBTQ plus persons, is entitled to protection provided for by international human rights law. These are basic and fundamental rights, but the UN Agency for Refugees, the UNHCR, has not found them relevant to the sexual minorities living on Block 13 of Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya. UNHCR's refusal to uphold these very basic human rights on behalf of sexual minorities living on Block 13 of Kakuma refugee camp is highlighted by the fact that they needed to rescue another group of LGBTQ plus refugees from the same camp in December of 2018 and January of 2019. Armed with this experience, they still went ahead and brought other refugees of the same kind to the same camp, a move that not only endangered the sexual minorities, but also shows blatant disregard for the safety of the sexual minorities placed in this hostile environment. As a result of this recklessness, the LGBTQ plus persons on Block 13 have been victims of attempted killings, sexual and gender-based violence, physical attacks, arbitrary arrests, rape, harassment, and discrimination. UNHCR's decision to have the LGBTQ plus persons in an already proven hostile environment, combined with the refusal to act decisively to protect these endangered LGBTQ people of Block 13, despite prolonged attacks, is a clear deviation from its mandate and failure to justify its existence and funding. We therefore demand that UNHCR and its partners protect the LGBTQ plus persons on Block 13 Kakuma refugee camp by evacuating them to safety immediately. So I ask all of you, there's about 45 to 50 of you in this room, please find ways to interact with us on our social medias. You can follow Babs Kane. She's been Go Babs Go. But definitely follow Free Block 13 on Instagram and find us on Facebook and just interact with us, like us, because the more interaction, the more our posts will become more along the algorithm. I'm very honored to have met so many of you wonderful and powerful activists, some strong women, some beautiful people. I love the interaction with the people from the camp, and it really brightens my day that I can actually help brighten someone else's day in their turmoil. So I've been doing a little bit of activism throughout my entire life. I come from a family of activists, so this is just natural for me, and I appreciate being amongst all of you giants. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chauncey. I wonder whether whether you might like to say a few words and then hand over to Brayo.
Thanks again, Helen, and I would just like to say thank you to everybody who showed up today. Thank you for standing in solidarity with LGBTQ refugees at Block 13. Thank you for speaking out, and I hope that this message that we have here today can reach those targets that need to hear it. I would like to thank the various groups that are working on different issues. Thanks to the advocacy group. Thank you to the therapists group. The work that you're doing is amazing. It is life-saving. And thank you for sharing some of those testimonies, anonymous testimonies, Kimmy. I'd also like to thank those who have donated to the GoFundMe page of Block 13, and encourage you to please continue to donate, to redonate, to share the link, as Block 13 needs these resources as we wait evacuation. Thank you so much, and let's meet in other platforms, especially on the ones that Chauncey has just shared with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor, and thank you so much for the people who've spoken today and for all the people who've come, just as Victor said. Victor, do you want to just introduce Brayo?
Brian Nkoyoyo, stage name is Brayo Bryans. He's a human rights defender from Uganda. Also has run away from that country because of homophobia and is now based in Canada. Brian, from long time ago, his activism was through music. So he composed this song, which we call the LGBT anthem, the song that I usually play, the theme song on my live shows, and so many other advocacy, struggle, name it, songs, activism. He just does his activism through that. And Brian has allowed us to use his music. Any of you doing activism out there, we are free to use Brian's music without any kind of special permissions. There's a lot of messages in his music. And so it's not surprising that he was our choice today for this protest, because this is what he does. He's a very passionate man, only that he speaks through his music. And Brian, I thank you so much for showing up for Block 13 today. And the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Victor. It's the least I can do. When you're given something like a voice or a talent, use it to better others. And we're in a situation whereby our comrades are really fighting hard to find better life. And some of us have been lucky to just cross over, but we really need to be there for them. We need to tell UNHCR they need to step up their game. We are demanding, we are not requesting. They should be, evacuated. Situations should be made better, and all however much we are going through all this, I want to encourage my comrades in Kakuma that there is hope. Yes, we are fighting hard. The message is out there, and we should keep hope alive, because if we lose hope, then the battle is not won, because always the battle has to be going on. You know, a luta continua. That's a motto we've always been using in our movements and fighting. So the song I'm going to do is called "There Is Hope." You know, the title is self-explanatory, and I would like you all to join me in this song as we protest to see that our brothers, our sisters, and comrades get, you know, better lives than what they're facing right now. And all in all, they should not lose hope. We should keep on fighting and see that there is change. Enjoy. Society, everyone is spitting on us. Little do they know we are a family, and nothing can stop us right now. My dear brothers and sisters, discrimination should stop. Let's come together and fight this insanity, 'cause in the end we will win. There is hope, there is hope. Don't despair, because there is hope. We shall overcome, we shall overcome this phobia they have towards us. If we come together and fight for our rights, we shall overcome, 'cause there is hope. My dear comrades, never give up the fight. Never lose faith in what you got. Oh, fight and fight for what belongs to you. Oh, luta continua. They will realize we are here to stay, and we're never going back. We're going stronger each and every moment. Oh, there is hope, there is hope, there is hope. Don't despair, because there is hope. We shall overcome, we shall overcome this hatred they have towards us. If we come together and fight for our rights, we shall overcome. 'Cause 'cause there is hope. So listen to me now, 'cause you know I got hope. Do what I do, I'm never gonna stop. I let nobody pull me with the rope. If you wanna pull me down, you know I say no. I believe in myself, I won't let myself down. Let me be me, that's who I am. I stand tall, the journey's too long. We keep moving, Kakuma, because we got hope. Tugume, mugume, mugume, wali Yesuvi, there is hope. Tugume, mugume, mugume, yeah, there is hope. If we come together and fight for our rights, we shall overcome. 'Cause there is hope. We shall overcome. There is hope, and believe that everything will come together if we keep on fighting together. If the world comes together and keep on fighting, you know, we will overcome. You know, we'll see that there is change. A lot is happening. It's really heartbreaking, but we should not give up the fight. A luta continua. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brayo.
Welcome. Welcome.
Okay, I'm going to stop now, if that's okay with everybody. Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you. Onwards.